Killarney National Park, near the town of Killarney in County Kerry, was the first national park in Ireland. It was created when Muckross Estate was donated to the Irish Free State in 1932. Once again, we take to the bikes. This week, we're in the Kingdom of Kerry. Last week, we cycled through West County Limerick on the Limerick Greenway and across the border into Kerry. Today, we are in Kerry. Once again, we were absolutely graced with fantastic weather, really and truly beautiful sunshine and temperatures 15-16 degrees as we hit the tracks of County Kerry. The park has been substantially expanded and encompasses over 25,425 acres of diverse ecology, including the lakes of Killarney, oak and yew woodlands of international importance, and mountain peaks. It has the only red deer herd on mainland Ireland and the most extensive covering of native forest remaining in Ireland. The park is of high ecological value because of the quality, diversity and extensiveness of many of its inhabitants and the whole variety of species that they accommodate, some of which are rare. The park was designated a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve in 1981. The park forms part of a special area of conservation and a special protection area. Killarney National Park is one of the very few places in Ireland that has been continuously covered by woodland since the end of the most recent glacial period, approximately 10,000 years ago. Humans have lived in the area since at least the Bronze Age, approximately 4,000 years ago. Archaeologists have found evidence that copper mining took place in the Ross Island area during this period, which suggests that the area was of considerable importance to Bronze Age people. Some of the most important archaeological remains in the park are from the early Christian period. The most important of these features is Innisfallen Abbey, the ruins of a monastic settlement on Innisfallen Island in Lough Lane. It was founded in the 7th century by Saint Finian the Leper and was occupied until the 14th century. The Annals of Innisfallen, a record of the early Christian history of Ireland, as it was known by the monks, was written in the monastery from the 11th to the 13th century. It is thought that the monastery gave rise to the name Lough Lane, which means Lake of Learning.
Oh yeah.
Isn't it absolutely amazing what you'll come upon when you're out in the great outdoors?
Morning.
Muckross Abbey was founded in 1448 by Observantine Franciscans and is also still standing, despite having been damaged and reconstructed several times when its inhabitants were raided. Friar's Glen on Mangerton Mountain is customarily said to have been one of the places the monks would flee to when the monastery was attacked. After the Norman invasion of Ireland, the land around the lakes was owned by the McCarthys and O'Donohues. Ross Castle is a 15th century tower house on the shore of Lough Lane. It was once the residence of the chieftain O'Donoghue Moore. The castle was extended in the 17th century and it has been restored and now open to the public. From the 18th century, the land in today's park were divided between two great estates, the Herberts of Muckross and the Browns, Earls of Kinmare. During the 17th and 18th centuries, the woods were extensively utilised for local industries including charcoal production, cooperage and tanning. Pressure on the woods intensified in the later part of the 18th century. The biggest cause of oakwood destruction in Killarney in the 18th century was the production of charcoal to fire smelters used in the local iron industry. Approximately 25 tons of oakwood was needed to produce 1 ton of cast iron. In 1780, Young famously described Derryconaghy Wood as a great sweep of mountain, covered partly in wood, hanging in a very noble manner, but part cut down, much of it mangled, and the rest inhabited by coopers, boat builders, carpenters and turners. In 1910, the American William Bowers Bourne bought Muckross Estate as a wedding present for his daughter Maud on her marriage to Arthur Vincent. They spent £110,000 improving the estate between 1911 and 1932, building the sunken garden, the stream garden and a rock garden on an outcrop of limestone. Maud Vincent died from pneumonia in 1929. In 1932, Arthur Vincent and his parents-in-law donated Muckross Estate to the Irish state in her memory. The 43.3 square kilometres estate was renamed as the Bourne Vincent Memorial Park. The Irish government created the national park by passing the Bourne Vincent Memorial Park Act in 1932. The Act required the Commissioners of Public Works to maintain and manage the park as a national park for the purpose of the recreation and enjoyment of the public. The Memorial Park is the core of today's enlarged park. Initially, the Irish government was unable to provide much financial support to the park, so it operated primarily as a working farm that was open to the public. Muckross House was closed to the public until 1964. Around 1970, there was public disquiet about threats to the Bourne Vincent Memorial Park. The Irish authorities looked at international practices in classifying and managing of national parks. It was decided to expand and redesignate the park as a national park that corresponded broadly with IUCN Category 2. A decision was also made to establish other national parks in Ireland. Almost 60 square kilometres, about 15,000 acres, has been added to the original park, including the Three Lakes, Knockreer Estate, Ross Island, Innisfallen, and the townlands of Glen, Ullawns and Poulagower. The park is now more than double its size it was in 1932. As the Irish economy became wealthier and the perception of the role of national parks changed, much more money was made available to the park. The park has a number of conservation and management challenges. One of these is the park's proximity to Killarney town, one of Ireland's best known tourist destinations. Killarney has hundreds of thousands of visitors every year. Most of these visitors spend time in the park. Careful management is needed to ensure minimal conflict between conservation and recreation. The past introduction of several exotic species to the park is an additional human influence on the area. These species have damaged the natural ecosystems of Killarney. The most notable of these species are the common rhododendron, which has infested large areas of Killarney National Park, and sika deer, which overgraze the woodland floor and pose a potential threat to the genetic integrity of the native red deer. Both rhododendron and sika deer can have an adverse effect on the native flora by inhibiting regeneration. A more recent accidental introduction is the American mink, which is now firmly established in the park alongside the native otter. Extinctions caused by humans include the wolf and the golden eagle. Fires caused by human activity occur with some frequency within the park. Despite the wet climate, they can spread quite rapidly to cover large areas. These fires rarely penetrate areas covered by dense woodlands, but they do burn readily through stands of open woodland. The park was damaged extensively by fires in April 2021. The main land use within the site is grazing by sheep. Deer grazing is also common. The woods in the park are currently severely overgrazed by sika deer. Grazing has caused damage to many terrestrial habitats, causing heath and blanket bogs to degrade and preventing woodland regeneration. In the upland areas, erosion caused by grazing is exacerbated by the exposed nature of the terrain. Pressure from native grazers like red deer and the Irish hare have increased since their main natural predators, the wolf and the golden eagle, became extinct. Grazing and disturbance of vegetation greatly aids the spread of rhododendrons. The real highlight of Tomy's Woods, where we are right now, is of course O'Sullivan's Cascade. This is a spectacular waterfall which runs into Loch Lane. It is said these magical cascades used to run with Ishkabaha, that's whiskey in the English, and that Fionn McCool, the chieftain of the Fianna, lived above the cascade. Sadly, when the English invaded Ireland, the whisky turned back into water. We are in Tomy's Woods right now, and this whole area of Kerry and Loch Lane in particular is steeped in myth and legend. It is famous for its tales of the Fianna and its leader Fionn McCool. Fionn's son Oisin is said to have met Niamh on the banks of Loch Lane before riding off to find Tír na nÓg, the land of eternal youth. If you look closely among the trees, you'll see the signs of more recent history. At times indistinguishable from the moss-covered rocks, you can work out the structures of old stone walls and even the remains of small stone dwellings. There would have been people living in these woods up to the time of the famine. On the most eastern part of the trail, you may be able to spot remnants of potato ridges on the mountainside. You can't help but wonder what might have happened to these people who lived here. Did they manage to flee and find a better life in a new land, or did they perish like so many others during that time? The park is open for tourism year-round. There is a visitor and education centre at Killarney House. Visitor attractions in the park include Dinah's Cottage, Knock Rear Domain, Innisfallen Island, Ladies' View, the Meeting of the Waters and the Old Weir Bridge, Muckross Abbey, Muckross House, the Muckross Peninsula, the Old Kenmare Road, O'Sullivan's Cascade, Ross Castle and Ross Island, Tomy's Oakwood and Tork Waterfall. There is now a network of surface paths in the Knockrear, Muckross and Ross Island areas that can be used by cyclists and walkers. The Old Kenmare Road and the track around Tomy's Oakwood have views over Loch Lane and Killarney.
love.